This week's lecturette is just a video on how to get the most out of your stress management project reaction paper, which is due next week. Can you believe it's the end of the term already, or getting there? Sorry if that stressed any of you out. But luckily by now, hopefully you have a stress management technique or three that you can reliably use to manage that end of term stress. So when I put together this stress management project, I wanted you guys to have a hands-on experience of what it is that we're talking about in class. So it's not just theory. And maybe you'll walk away having used for now about 2 months a stress management technique that you really enjoyed and was helpful, or maybe not. Maybe you didn't find this technique helpful. For some people, what works for one person doesn't work for another. For me, progressive muscle relaxation just makes my muscles tenser. So now I know, and I don't use that one. So regardless of whether it was the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, or most likely somewhere in between, you learn something about how you and your body respond to stress. This reaction paper that's due next week is your cumulative final opportunity to show me that you understand the course material and can integrate it with your own experiences of stress and stress management, which is the whole point of the course. And although I have some stipulations that I'm going to go over from the syllabus and some clarifications on what some of that means for you, and how to go about getting the most points possible from this assignment, what you need to know is that really this is about your experience, and the points for this project are yours to lose, which means that if you follow the instructions that I have laid out in the syllabus, there is no reason that you should get anything less than a B on this paper or project. And here in this video are a couple of tips and hints to make it more likely that you'll get that A++. I'm going to be clarifying some points from the project instructions on the syllabus. This will benefit you the most if you already know the instructions first, so please reread the stress management project instructions, including the reaction paper instructions in your syllabus, prior to continuing this video. Alright, first point of clarification and comment is the word count right there. Please note that you will lose points if you are either under or over the word count. I chose this word count because it would give you the opportunity to both think in an expansive way about your experience, but also limit you to what's most important. Also, be aware that the reference list does not count towards your final word count. Next, questions. I have included 5 questions that you must answer for this paper. You will lose significant points for any questions that you do not answer. To be confident that I know which questions you are answering, considering using statements directly from the question. For instance, question 1. My chosen technique was yoga. My plan was to get up at 6 a.m. and do a 30-minute yoga video Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Or, my stress management plan, I would say, only had a moderate impact on my stress level. So that's how to think about going about answering the questions to make sure that I know which ones you're talking about, so you don't accidentally lose points if you incorporate it into another section and I just miss I missed your turn signal, because that can happen. These are like turn signals for driving. So, a couple of points of clarification on the different questions. Question number 1, what was your chosen technique and plan? Consider just taking the email that you sent me and cutting and pasting it. So some students in the past have just done it verbally, kind of the example that I just gave you. My chosen technique was yoga, etc., etc., etc. Others copied and pasted that worksheet into it as well. That is just fine, and if you don't know what I'm talking about by worksheet, please ignore what I just said. That is not meant to confuse you. Do not panic. Some people just used an extra tool that I set out in order to better format that email Dr. Curry requirement for the project. So, question number 2. How did the stress management plan impact you? This is where you talk about whether it maybe reduced your stress or maybe it stressed you out because you had to add another thing to your schedule. This is where you include that stress tracker data that you've been submitting every week. I will be sending that out to you no later than midnight tomorrow night, which is Wednesday for those of you who are watching this later during the week. So keep an eye out for that. If you do not see a email from me with stress tracker data in it by midnight on Wednesday, please let me know. Question 3, what did you like and what did you dislike about your chosen stress management technique? You must include both. I liked X, Y, and Z. If you absolutely loved it and there were 0 downsides about it, you're just all over the yoga or the gratitude listing, and you had 0 dislikes saying there was nothing that I disliked about this stress management technique, but you must acknowledge both to get full points. Question number 4. What barriers did you experience that impacted your ability to follow your plan and or get the most out of this technique? For some of you, there might have been a whole ton of barriers. Maybe you had a hard time getting up in the morning. Maybe your work schedule changed so you weren't able to make it to those classes at the rec center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know. For others of you, maybe it was perfect. Maybe nothing got in your way. Again, you must at least acknowledge the question. So if there was nothing that happened wrong, say, this was a great experience. Nothing got in my way. I made it to each day of my yoga class. If that's great, then say that. If, however, you missed one of those yoga classes or you missed a gratitude listing night, that means that there was a barrier there. And that could just be like, simply, I forgot a couple of nights, and that was your barrier. Or you got sick and you couldn't make it to one of your yoga classes. That's fine. It doesn't have to be anything extra special. Question number 5. What stress management tool or tools, if any, will you use going forward? And how will you incorporate that into your life? So maybe it was the stress management tool that you tried and you really liked, and so you're going to keep on doing yoga. But maybe you can't do 3 days a week, maybe you can only do 2 days a week, or maybe you're going to watch videos instead of going to classes, or you're going to go to classes instead of watching videos because you were having a hard time getting up early and getting yourself to do it. I don't know. Whatever that looks like, answer that question. If you tried yoga and you found it immensely stressful and you never want to do it again, maybe you could even say, I really enjoyed deep breathing that we tried in those first couple of weeks of class, and I want to start doing that on a semi-regular basis. That answer to that question is whatever that means for you, but again, you must answer both elements. A, what the stress management tool, if any, you're going to use going forward, and B, how will you incorporate it into your life? Last but most definitely not least comes that element where you show that you can integrate facts from course content into your experiences. So you must include at least 2 references to course content, whether those are my little lecturettes, the readings from the texts, or anything else I posted on D2L that were optional, any of the videos from YouTube or College Humor even that I posted. And you must use APA citation style. Okay, for those of you who are freshmen or sophomores, do not panic. Or for seniors who somehow managed to not have to do APA citation style, I have included on D2L final paper project materials, which includes basics on APA style, and that includes a link to a great website, OWL Purdue, where they give you the simple basics of APA style. Now keep in mind, I am not going to be crazy picky about this, but you must show that you made an effort. So you put the authors in the right place, you put the journal article or the book title or the video title in the right place. You gave a date if that's required. If you're missing major chunks of what's required in the API citation, whether that's the in-text citations or in the reference list, that's when you might lose points. But I'm not going to ding you because you misplaced a comma or you forgot to italicize one piece of it. So don't stress out too bad about this. Just read the basics that I posted and final paper project materials and do your best. You can always take it to the Writing Center and make sure that have them give it a once over to make sure that you've done it. No title page or headers required. If you don't know what I mean by title page or headers, don't worry about it. Completely ignore what I just said. I'm just saying this for those students who have taken research methods classes before where they've had to do API citation and might have had to include title pages or headers. No title pages or headers required. And also, regarding direct quotes from course materials, some of you have included these in discussions. It's fine, but I see a bad habit in papers that I've gotten in the past where people will include these huge chunks of paragraphs directly from their text. Do not do that. I already know that Sapolsky knows about stress, so I want to know what you know. So if you decide to put a quote in from whether it's one of my lecturettes or from the text or whatever, it can be no more than 20 words total, taken directly from course content and put in your paper. If you want to include larger points, then you're just going to have to paraphrase, and that's really the ideal anyway. You can do the bare minimum of answering the questions listed in the syllabuses and doing the references and get a B. But if you want that A, you have to show me that you actually understand the materials, that you demonstrate comprehensive knowledge of the content and via thoughtful, thorough, yet concise content created by you in the reflection paper. The essentials there are to answer each and every one of the questions, 1 through 5, and the reference requirement that we were just talking about. What I mean by thoughtful is I want to hear about your experience. What did you like about deep breathing? What did you dislike? How do you think it impacted your life? Did it not, and why not? Not just, oh, I did deep breathing, I guess I kind of liked it, I guess I could see using it in the future, okay, thanks, bye. That's not what I'm talking about. I want to see more reflection of your experience in your response paper. And that includes a thoughtful inclusion of data from your stress tracker that I'm going to be sending you and course material that I can see that you've put thought into linking all of that together, which again is the purpose. Number 3, balancing thorough with concise. There were some people in that first mini discussion where you guys got to ask questions about the syllabus that expressed utter dismay at the limit of only 800 words. This is an opportunity for you to select what it is about your experience that is most important. Some of the questions are going to address more impactful experiences for you. Maybe you really liked it, and so you can go on at length about what you really liked and how it really impacted you. Or for others, it might be the dislike section where there was nothing that they liked. And so emphasize the sections and the questions that are most impactful for you. And spend more time and more words on that, making sure, to at least acknowledge and answer each question in some way, shape, or form. If in doing so, where you focused on really embellishing question 2 and 4 because those are the most meaningful for you, and spending a little less time on the others, you're still over word count, edit out examples or points that are already covered once. I don't need 5 examples of what a barrier was. This time my kids got me up had me up late, and this time my kids had me up late, and this time let me tell you more about this other time that my kids had me up late, which was what kept me from doing yoga. I only need one example. And, however, if you're significantly under word count and you've gone through and made sure that you've answered each one of the questions thoroughly, maybe you give me a cute little story about something that happened that was extra awesome, or a barrier that was really stupid. You can do that as well. Going beyond the minimum requirements is important if you want that A++. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. The two most obvious in my mind is through excellent references to course material. Now, you could say something on the order of, as we know from our text, stress is bad. Okay, and then you've cited it, you've got your little Sapolsky 2004, ... Okay, sure, yeah, that counts as a reference, but duh. This is an obvious example, and that's not really impressive. However, if you do a deep cut into something that hasn't already been brought up in 500 posts in the discussion sections from the text, or from one of my lecturettes, or even from one of the other videos, that's going to be more impressive to me than something super obvious. And if you can really connect that tightly with your own experience, saying something on the order of, it was really interesting to read the parts about how diabetes is impacted by stress. And when I think about some of my family members with their type 2 diabetes, I am very mindful of this lifestyle choice that they're making, this lifestyle choice that they're making, and going forward, I want to change this lifestyle choice that I've picked up that is similar to theirs, and I want to stop that by doing X, Y, and Z. That's a much better reference to course material than stress is bad, okay? You can also do it through thorough integration from stress tracker data. If you include one reference to stress tracker data, technically you get that little check in the box. But if you talk about how, doing yoga on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, you've noticed that your stress levels at the end of the day were lower on average than Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, that's a really cool and interesting piece of data. Or maybe your stress level has gone down since you started the activity, even though you had a really stressful midterm exam. And you can even include numbers in that. Prior to starting this, I was getting level 6s, and now doing this exercise, I am generally at a level 3 of stress. That's really neat data. And that would be really interesting, and that goes a little bit above and beyond that minimum requirement of just checking off the box. So those are some examples of going beyond the minimum requirements. Another one would be, after you've already included 2 references to course materials, maybe you bring in a reference like a journal article or a chapter from another class you've taken that's relevant to stress. That's awesome too. But most importantly, take this project and this final reflection paper as an opportunity to spend some time thinking about your own stress habits, your own stress management tools, what's working, what's not, and what you want to do going forward to live that healthy lifestyle that I know each and every one of you is hoping to have. I hope you found some enjoyment in this stress management project. I know you're getting a grade, so that brings an element of stress, but I hope there were things that you enjoyed about it, and I look forward to reading about your experiences. Please feel free to email me with any questions that you have after you've read through the syllabus and watched this video, or as you're going about writing the paper. Also, feel free to stop by my office hours next Tuesday at 11, or I'm always happy to do like a Skype or a Google Hangout online meeting. Just let me know. Take care.